Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about advanced code and handing things off. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I have a dilemma at work. I am told by my manager that I write too advanced code so that our consultants who are supposed to take over my work don't understand what's going on. How can I vocalize that writing code in a different way is not scalable? And the short answer is you have to prove the value of your own work, but I also highly suggest that you think about what you're saying. Let me explain. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm just going to guess that this person is a fairly junior profile. The reason why I guess this is because of the way this person posed that question, stating that my way of writing code is scalable, or the way that we are writing code is not sustainable, it's hacky, or it's unscalable, and so forth. And in this scenario, I believe that the person was referring to that he was trying to use React.js while the rest of the workers at the company were using vanilla JavaScript. Now, that is, my friend, you, at least in my eyes, probably being in the wrong. I know, this is not what you want to hear, but it sounds to me that you're starting to get into the philosopher stage, dude. It sounds to me as if you don't really know what scalable code means, and you think you know because you're using the latest tools, and you're basically convincing yourself that you are in line with what the rest of the industry considers to be best practices, or at least from your perspective. You see, the reason why I state this is not because I believe that you're a bad programmer. I just believe that you have a very limited understanding of what scalable means. Now, I will admit here that I don't know. Maybe the vanilla JavaScript that you're writing is absolutely horrible, but try to see it from this perspective. You are part of a team, my friend. You are supposed to try to figure out how to write code that works, that is sustainable and scalable, and that feels comprehensible to all the people that are working in your company. Because in this scenario, I mean, this is even worse. Because here you don't actually have a collaboration necessarily going on. What you do is that you are writing the first part of the code, and then you're handing that off to other people. Now, if they can't work on that code, you have caused a problem, a really big problem. It doesn't really matter if your code is better or worse or whatever's going on. The work cannot continue. It's you can think of it as an assembly line where you're at the top of the assembly line, and you build something that nobody down the line actually can work with. Well, then you're going to halt progress. Production is going to grind down until you fix your shit, or until you educate the other people. And since that is the question, before I go into that, I really want you to ask yourself that: is it easier to educate the rest of the company? Is that like more useful or more in line with how things should go? Because I mean, there is a scenario where this is absolutely true, but I would tell you right now that that is a very hard thing to do. It's much easier for one person to adjust their workflow and figure out, okay, how can I do this without, say in this case, React.js? How can I write a scalable solution in vanilla JavaScript? Because it can be done, my friend. There is nothing stopping you from writing good, clean code in vanilla JavaScript. It is more than possible to do this. So it's not about the tool here. It is about your approach to the problem, I would say. So, but let's, for the sake of argument, say that, all right, you really do see that this is an issue. Like, there is really a problem with scalability, and that problems are being caused because of this way of working. Well, if that is the case, as I said, you will have to prove that your way of working is better. You're going to have to take it on your responsibility to educate everybody else. And really ask yourself this, is this worth it? Because even if you try to do this, you have no guarantees that people will follow you. You will need to be the sort of person who has the personal maturity, the charisma, the influence, like all of these things kind of have to align. And unless you are a more senior profile and perceived as being a little bit of an expert or a little bit of a, well, let's call it an expert actually, it's going to be very hard for you to convince other people that they should do something in a new fashion, because they actually have to want to listen to you. And if you're a junior developer, odds are that nobody gives a shit about what you state, unless they already are open to this idea. It's actually very hard sometimes as a junior developer to be heard, like to be really heard. Partly because of this thing I'm saying, like you may think that you have an idea, but usually, and this was so hard for me when they said this to me, and I didn't agree with it at the time, but later on I started to realize that there was actually a grain of truth to this. Because when I was in this exact same position, I will tell you that I really did believe that my solutions to these things were the right way of doing things. And maybe some of it was, I mean, not all of it was horrible, but some of it I later realized that my senior coworkers, they were correct. I didn't really understand what I was doing. All I did was I regurgitated what I had read on the internet, and that's not experience, I'm sorry to say. But the things that actually did go through went through because I could prove very clearly that this is actually a very useful way of working. And the way you do this is usually that you have to have a presentation, or you have to get, at least you have to get the buy-in. That's the thing. Like that's what you might hear this throughout your career, that you need to get the buy-in from somebody. And all that really means is that you have convinced a key person or a few key people that we should do work in this fashion. Because sometimes, unfortunately, it's not possible for you to very clearly and objectively and in a smooth manner prove that your way of doing something is better than somebody else's. It's a hunch. It's something that you know will probably work out. And in order for you to get people to buy into that idea, you have to make a proof of concept or something of that nature. Now, in your scenario, if you're talking about just adding React because of reasons versus, dealing with a code base that is all vanilla JavaScript, this might actually be very tricky because you're talking about a fairly large investment. But it is possible to do so. The easiest way, at least I've found, is to just start with one small piece of code, like one project or something like that, and pitch the idea that we should try this out, because there are so many good things that are said about React and so forth and so forth. And then you might make a little presentation or something like that, and you will say that, these things here, that you identify problems within your own code base, and you can say something like, oh, these problems that we've had in the past, well, there are very nice solutions to these sorts of problems in React. And I believe that those problems being solved and these additional benefits could be a very interesting fit for us. And then you kind of pitch this until a point where you can get people to say, okay, maybe, let's try it. If you can that's the thing you want. You don't need them to be excited about the thing. You just need them to say, it's okay, let's try it. If you can get them to that point, then you actually have the buy-in, and now you can actually try to put things in place in such a way that it actually feels intuitive and comfortable to work in that fashion. So what I want you to take away from this is that the best way for you to vocalize an idea that you have or changing work processes is to first and foremost share the benefits, like identify the problems that you have in the company and how this tool is going to solve those problems. Most programmers are one part emotional, so you need to get them a little bit excited about something, show them something shiny, but most of them, like the majority of their reasoning is, what's in it for me? What's the value? What problems are we solving? When they get that part, if you have these two blocks together, that's when you get the buy-in. And you get that buy-in by proving the value of your ideas. But I warn you, as I was saying, odds are that you're actually the one that is in wrong here, dude. If you have an entire company of people who are accustomed to working with vanilla JavaScript and then you arbitrarily start writing things in React, then I would say that you have made a personal mistake here, and you should really rethink your approach, because it's not about you using React, and it's not about React being the only solution to a problem or just a universally better solution. It is about you figuring out what's the best work process and tooling that we can use at this company. not everybody else. This company. What's the best fit for this company? Have a great day.